Jackety, jacket. Fresh today. I feel fresh.
Yeah?
Feel good energy today.
Good.
Except this microphone thing poking me in the
I've
dick.
got one down here too.
Oh.
I've got to put something up here too.
What is this shit?
Should I get some glasses?
What do you fuck off? What is that?
That's
That looks cheap. I don't even know about alcohol, but that to me that just says I spent $5 as a bit of a prop. But, what is that? Whiskey? What is that?
It's Captain Morgan Spice Rum, which it's going to be one of our topics today.
21 servings in a bottle. How much would something like that cost?
I think that's about $40. We got it for free. My fiance and I. Someone gave it to us.
Oh, okay, so this was, you didn't go. I'm so glad you didn't buy that on Gumtree like every fucking other thing. Oh yeah, we got that from a bloke in bloody Broadmeadows called Colin.
It's true.
This is what he does every week. He goes and buys random shit from random people in random places.
I had to drive to bloody Narry Warren to purchase this off Dorothy. I had to drive to bloody Croydon to get this one. I didn't buy anything this week. I brought along the bottle of Captain Morgan. Which we're going to get to that because
could we?
You don't drink.
I don't drink. I drink. I don't drink alcohol.
Yes. All right. Before we get to that, let's put that to the side here. A guy just wrote recently on your Instagram. I don't know if it was creepy, but it just said, "What's the first thing you do when you get up?"
That's creepy.
If for people that listen to any other podcasts, like Tim Ferriss, it's like one of his questions that he asks every successful person. What's your morning ritual? And I haven't spoken to you about this.
Do you know what I find interesting about that? I wonder how many of those morning rituals those alleged morning rituals are fucking true. Oh, well, every morning I do 20 minutes of visualization and yoga. I have bulletproof coffee. I have a cold shower. I do 4,000 push-ups. Then I drive some needy children to school. No, you don't. Yeah. You just get up and you have a piss and you walk around the house like an idiot and bump into shit. That's what
Is that what you do?
Pretty much. What do I do? This is what I really do. I get up.
Yeah.
I splash my face, maybe have a wee, clean my teeth. I don't have a shower because I'm not going to see anyone straight away.
Yeah.
I will walk downstairs once I'm ready because I live right near a cafe. I'll make sure I'm presentable, teeth are clean, maybe a little bit of deodorant. I'll walk over the road 10 minutes after I've woken up, have a coffee, read the paper. That's my little ritual. Yeah. And then I'll come home and start stuff.
What about the early days? Like when you weren't as successful as you are? Did you do anything?
There are times when I will still, like I do stuff through the day that other people, like I don't meditate. Like I don't sit and meditate, but I will consciously take time out where I'll turn everything off. I turn my computer off or I turn it, off the screen and I'll turn my phone off and I'll sit and read. I'll sit and read for half an hour, a real book, a physical book, or I'll watch something on TV that will either make me laugh or teach me something, or I'll go for a walk and I'll listen to a podcast.
Is this the book that you're reading at the moment?
I've read that.
Have you?
It's a good book. It's called Mind Over Medicine by Alyssa Rankin. I don't know Alyssa Rankin, but she's got more promotion out of me than anyone ever. Well, it's just a good book because what I love about that book is all the stuff that I talk about these days is largely about the way that our psychology and our physiology and our emotions and our behaviours and our actions and our results interconnect and collide. So what's awesome about this is, so she talks a lot about the power of the mind over healing, but the power of the mind is the wrong term because when we think about that, I think we think 1970s, it's like, I will get well, rather than actually understanding that there's a real, provable relationship between psychology and physiology. And anyone who's heard me speak has heard me say this, but as soon as you have a thought, depending on what the thought is, I've said this to you, I think if you think now that there's somebody walking up behind you with an axe and you really think that, then just that thought will trigger a multitude of physiological changes. So elevated heart rate, perspiration, respiration, sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine, blood pressure elevation, body temperature will be affected, maybe, probably not. Your muscles will be, your muscular system will be, will be tense, everything will go, you might feel sick, you might feel unwell, and all of that from one thought. So that's one thought, and the thought is, shit, somebody's behind me, they're going to kill me. But when we snap into the real world, there's no one there. So what's created that amazing physiological response, that significant physiological response, is not what's really happening, but what you think is happening. And the stuff that, what I love about this is that when I explain that to you, you go, well, that makes sense. Because if I actually think someone's, but then when we compare imagined scenario with a real scenario, let's say in some altered universe, you really were sitting there and there really was somebody behind you who was going to do you harm. Well, your physiological response in terms of blood pressure and heart rate and respiration and cortisol and adrenaline and all of those things would be identical to your imagined scenario. So now this knowledge is like having a key to a car that's an incredible high performance machine. You've got the key and you've got the car, but you're not sure how to fucking drive it. You go, I've got a Formula One car in my garage. I don't know how it starts. So it's trying to learn how this key fits in that car and how to use that car to its full potential. And that's not even touching the potential of your mind.
What about, like, because I know for me, sometimes I get negative thoughts flash into my mind about maybe being sick or about getting sick. And they're just triggers that I haven't chosen to think that. It's just gone off in my mind. And I try to go, okay, no, that's bullshit. But if I keep thinking about that thought, that's when you can manifest this stuff. So you're saying you can heal, or there's, we've got access to this thing that is our mind if we know how to use it. But like, I guess my question is like, how do you sort of remove, or how do you gain access?
So that's the $1 million question. But look, this is what we do, and this is not bullshit or self-help fluff. We know that a thought can create a physiological response, for better or worse. So too, if I imagine something that's like, I imagine something amazing and beautiful and calming, and I'm really in that, mentally and emotionally really in that moment, my physiology will change for the better. So that's the starting point. The starting point is to understand that it's real, but then it's trying to figure out, and I don't have all the answers, but I do know that there is a correlation, and there's enough of a body of evidence now to know that we have, at the very least, the capacity to influence our physical health via our thinking. And there's a really interesting, you've heard me talk about this area of science called psychoneuroimmunology that talks about the relationship between essentially your thoughts and emotions and your immune system. So we know somebody who, everything else being equal, if we've got two brothers and they're identical physiologically, but one of them's very positive, very solution focused, very calm, very has an attitude of gratitude, and the other one's an overthinker and stressed and always finding problems and always, we know that the first guy will probably have a much stronger immune system, and the other guy will have a compromised immune system, because all that toxic thinking and emotions has a physiological consequence. So what we do is we go, and we've spoken before about the relationship between stress and disease and all those things. And we also know that stress, as we experience it, fuck, I'm stressed, is a personal reaction to something. It's not about the thing, it's about the way I respond to the thing. And that gets into the space of subjective reality. But it's trying to figure out how much of my stress is about what's going on and how much of my stress is about the way that I'm dealing with it, or the story that I'm telling myself about that. And, this is why I get excited about, and I know I'm waffling today and I've probably derailed your entire fucking plan. I don't care.
No, we got deep real quick.
No, but it's just like, this stuff is, This is the stuff.
Yeah.
This is the stuff with everything, with life, with relationships, with getting in shape. You know, people go to me, why do you talk so much about the head stuff when you're an exercise exercise scientist? And I go, because it's the internal stuff that drives the external. You can know all you want to know or need to know about anatomy and physiology and nutrition and progressive overload and energy systems and sugar and fat and micro and macro nutrients, and you can have the best gym and all that. But if you constantly make shit choices, if you constantly find problems, and if you constantly stop doing what works every time you lose a bit of motivation, all the other stuff is inconsequential. So it's learning to manage us, right? And whether or not that's around fear or around choices or around behaviours or around other people or around maximising our potential or learning to drive the car, it's learning to manage us to manage our life.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I need a drink.
Let's drink up.
All right, let's move on.
All right, what do you want to know? Okay, so you want to ask me about, what do you want to ask me?
Yeah, there's a few things I want to talk to you about here because I think you and I are polar opposites. I grew up...
Super good looking.
Yeah, you one of the first talks I went to of yours, I would have been 19. I heard you say that you've never drank.
Correct.
You're a clean skin.
Correct.
Whereas I'm the opposite. I had my first drink maybe when I was 13. Most weekends I've drank alcohol. Up until this year is probably the most sort of, thoughtful I've been about how I treat my body. Yeah. And it's because I've got a new business and I'm working hard and I've got a lot going on for myself. I've learnt about myself and what alcohol does to my body.
But you're also more mature, so you think differently.
Yeah, a lot. But I wanted to talk to you about, a few different elements of alcohol.
Sure.
So alcohol associated with exercise and muscle growth.
Well, look, I guess the interesting thing about alcohol is that it's like, alcohol is kind of like religion in that you know that people are going to have an opinion about it. It's terrible, or it's the best thing ever, or there's, it evokes, because a lot of people, for them, it's a bit of a refuge. It's how I relax, and that's fine. I don't judge people. Obviously, I work with alcoholics and addicts, so I'm reasonably informed in the space of how this might impact negatively on a life. So I'm not guessing. I'm not guessing about this stuff because I work every week with people whose lives have been fucked. Yeah. And relationships and families and careers and financial situations because of their addiction. So there's that. So it's multifaceted. There's the sociological and personal consequences. And then but then at the other end of it, there are people like my mum and dad have a wine most nights of their life. They're fine. And there's nothing wrong with drinking. It's how we drink. There's nothing wrong with eating. It's how we eat.
So you said there's multi-level, conversation here about alcohol. Let's go alcohol and exercise.
Okay, so alcohol and exercise, we know that, and I wrote a post about this. It's a little bit murky about how much alcohol actually starts to affect testosterone. So we're talking about boys, but there seems to be somewhere in the 2 or 3 glass range, depending on the alcohol, of course, depending on the alcohol content. That it starts to have a negative, or it can have a negative effect on testosterone production. And so along with that, without being silly, so erectile dysfunction and decreased testosterone equals, if we do enough of this over time, where it would affect your ability to build muscle, also would help you gain fat. The other thing too is that a gram of alcohol has 7 calories, a gram of protein or carbohydrate has 4. So it's nearly double the calories per unit, right? So just apart from that, having 10 beers or 10 anythings, there's a shitload of calories on top of your food.
There is one other thing. You said this the other night at one of your talks.
So people say to me, is it hard when you're around a whole bunch of people that are drinking? Because I don't drink. Is it hard? How are you so disciplined? How do you stay motivated to do that? I don't know why I'm doing that voice, Tommy. Tommy, I'm doing that fucking voice again. I'm an idiot. Do you know what? I fucking hate watching me.
Do you?
Yeah, I hate it.
Well, I hope the people watching you right now don't.
I think we hate watching ourselves. Yeah.
Totally.
Go on,
So-
what's your question?
So that's about, because I know I've found it hard when I go out and go, I'm not drinking, I don't bring it up, and then people go, come on,
People
mate,
make an issue of it.
come on, just have one.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the mindset behind people, why they're doing it? What do you think?
Well, I think because they look at a couple of reasons. I don't know, I'm guessing, but I would think because they look at that, I think they look at the activity of drinking grog through their eyes, which is, for the most part, it's a good thing, it's a fun thing, it's a social thing, and I understand that. And when people think I'm missing out, I understand. I understand. Sometimes I'll say things and people are like, oh, it's all right for you, you missed a fucking goody two-shoes, and I don't, if you want to drink 500 beers, feel free. I'm not trying to tell anyone what to do. What I'm doing is trying to provide insight, and I firsthand have seen really bad stuff happen around alcohol. I'm not a fan of excessive drinking. Moderate drinking, cool. And for me, like I said, I don't need to be, we've spoken about negotiable and non-negotiables before. So for me, not drinking alcohol doesn't require discipline or self-control or mental toughness, because it's just not a thing I do. So I always talk about what's hardwired into your brain, your normal operating system, your default setting. So my default setting is I don't drink. And so there's no need to get disciplined or focused or in the zone for that, because it's like I clean my teeth, I get out of bed, I'm polite to people, I do my work, I pay my taxes, I don't drink. Yeah. It's just, this is my normal stuff. And one of the problems, I know I'm going to talk too long, but is that as long as the things that we need to do to get our results or our desired results are not part of our normal operating system, we're always going to revert back. So that's why motivation doesn't work, because it's this temporary emotion. And so what we do is we change our behavior, and we're motivated. So we're doing the thing that produces a result. We're doing it. Then we lose motivation. We're like, fuck, lost motivation. So lost motivation, stop the behaviors, lost the results, go back to the start. 3 months later, we start the circle again. So that's why motivation, it's a good thing when it's there, it's an asset when it's there, but it's not a reliable mechanism or tool to get you where you want to go, because itself is a transient thing.
So what's a way for people, because I know there's other people out there that want to sort of not drink as much as they do. How do you disrupt that mindset, that ingrained mindset that we have?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways. So one is quite often what happens is something traumatic, right? So I won't even mention it, but let's say something traumatic happened in your life to someone you care about around alcohol. Pretty sure you'd give up alcohol, right? Because something would affect you where you would have a cognitive and a neural association with pain and alcohol. So next time you're offered alcohol, you're like, fuck your alcohol, right? And that's instant. And that can happen. And I've seen that happen many times where, let's not go into it, but we know what I'm talking about. Where there's, the other way is just over time, where you go, right, so what are my new rules? And you're not gonna, with this, where we're consciously and cognitively changing, and it might go, your rules might be, right, I can have 6 drinks on a weekend. And whether or not that's 6 on a Saturday, or Friday night 2, Saturday night 2, Sunday night 2, that's cool. But that's your new rule. And over time, it just takes time, that will become your new normal. At the start, it will be your abnormal, because you've got to consciously and intentionally and perhaps courageously do that. But the more you do anything, the more that it becomes less weird and more normal. So there's probably other ways, but that's 2 clear ways.
Put a few rules down.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's not. Here's the thing, too. People go, was there no magic? There's no magic. Like, this is, you think about all the stuff that I teach. Make decisions, get uncomfortable, follow through, be resilient, don't be a fuckwit, ask good questions, choose your attitude, choose your purpose, hang out with people who drag you up. None of those messages are new. None. Like, this is thousands of years old. This is just common sense and wisdom, but quite often what we need something tricky and fast, and is there a fucking app for that? No, you dickhead, just make decisions. No, just live your life, choose your life, embrace your behaviours and stop trying to fast track everything.
Yeah, but we tell ourselves, I remember thinking I needed these TRX straps because they were like what were going to be great for my clients, and I needed them. I needed to spend $350 on it. And I thought it was the case, and it was the case in my head, but I could have used a robot.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah, you could have.
It's so dumb. Why do we tell ourselves these stupid stories?
Well, because we buy into other people's stories, and God bless the TRX people, but you know they want to sell heaps of shit, and obviously they were very good at marketing to you, and you went, "Fuck, I need that," and they're going, "Yeah, you do." It's like anything. Like we tell out, we have the story, we have the internal story running, and the story becomes our reality because we just we live it.
All right,
was that deep?
Yeah, we went really deep. I just fell into a hole there.
That deep. Are you all right?
I'm good.
Do you need a little hug?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a hug after this. We'll have a hug. But I thought we could finish off. What about like a thought of the day from Harps? Anything that's sort of in your mind?
Okay. Didn't know that was coming. Thank you. Thanks for the big warning. So I often finish talks with this, and I'll say, don't try to change 50 things at once. So if you're someone who goes, you know what, I've been almost doing things and I've been stopping and starting, losing, regaining, making ground, losing ground, in the zone, out of the zone forever, and something in this little video today resonates with you, don't try to change 5 things. And take away the safety net. Take away the escape clause. Don't give yourself, and by that I mean emotionally and cognitively, don't give yourself the opportunity to stop. Don't rationalise stopping. Try and change 1 or 2 things at a time. Don't overthink it. Don't look for accolades. Don't look for a fan club. Take action, and with every little kind of success, every little kind of win, change it up a bit.
All right, time for that hug, mate. Come on, bring it in. Bring it in.
Who are we hugging?
Just take across the table. Oh! And cut.